Sunday Sanctuary with me, Sarah. Oh gosh, I noticed in my last videos I keep saying it's unbelievable that when I put my captions it says all the time, so I'm just becoming aware that I have to watch that. Deep breaths instead of ums. I didn't know what to focus on today, and just before I came in my husband said, oh, why don't you talk about programming? So I scanned my my bookshelf, and the book that was like jumping out for some reason is by one of my favorite teachers. His name is Malidoma Patrice Somé, and he came into my awareness back in 2017. He's very, very wise, and he wrote a book called Of Water and Spirit. That was the first book that I read. And then this one that I have here with us tonight is called The Healing Wisdom of Africa: Finding Life Purpose Through Nature, Ritual, and Community. Basically, all the things that in the West we are losing: nature, rituals, and community, which any new parent can tell you as they're struggling to survive raising kids with very little resources and people around that can help. So oh gosh, I've said again, I'm so sorry, I really will watch that. I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to read a little bit of this book. Now remember that the theme is about programming, and so let's jump in, let's just go, and hopefully you will enjoy what I read to you, and you will be able to reflect on yourself with the intent that this will help to wake you up to certain things in your life so that you can come back to yourself and think, wow, okay, I'm like this because of this. Once you know why, you can drop a lot of things, and you can drop a lot of shame and embarrassment that you're holding, because you will realize that none of it is your fault. You've always been innocent, and you've just copied, and you've had to exist in a world that you don't really understand. You're just repeating certain behaviors and thoughts and ideas, and this is who you are. But now, if you're watching this particularly, it means that you're really beginning to think about your life, who you are, and you perhaps want to make sense of it, and you want to have a different life, a better life. This book starts off with this quote: if you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world, and following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. By William Stafford, in a book called A Ritual to Read to Each Other. Malidoma starts: my name is Malidoma. It means he who makes friends with the stranger or enemy. I come from a little village in West Africa named Dano, located in the landlocked country of Burkina Faso, and I belong to a group of people called the Dagara, who trace their origins to the region once known as the Gold Coast, now called Ghana. I'm going to skip some bits and just try to let my eyes settle on relevant pieces for this for this evening. The story of my youth and education is described in my previous book of Water and Spirit. I am one of a few thousand native Africans who, at an early age, 4 years old in my case, was stolen from one world and taken to another as part of the European colonial project through the efforts of the French and Roman Catholic Church. The fascination of Dagara people with matters pertaining to spirit particularly predisposed them to the acceptance of French Catholicism. In retrospect, I think many Dagara saw assimilation into French Catholicism much as they saw our tribal rites of initiation, the replacement of an old self with a new in the interest of a better life. Many approached colonial religious practices with the intention of exploring them only briefly, but soon they lost their bearing, becoming acculturated and easily manipulated. He goes on to say how his father was one of these people through a deal that was made with Catholic missionaries in Africa. His son, so Malidoma, at the age of 4, was removed from his family and village and taken to a priest missionary school. Once he was gone, pleas from the father to return him fell on deaf ears, and Malidoma remained in the missionary school for 20 years, for a further 16 years. It says, I remained in the missionary school system until the age of 20. Following the colonial period of the 1950s and 1960s, missionary schools continued to flourish in Africa, while the Europeans who had carried bombs and guns into West Africa were interested in material resources. Those who wielded the cross were interested in souls. Thus, the purpose of these schools was clear: to continue the work of European colonization on the African continent by converting natives to Christianity and the ways of the West while they were still young, susceptible, and easy to persuade. This was not a localized program in West Africa, but a widespread practice spanning the entire African continent. School, to us, was a place where we learned to reject whatever native culture we had acquired as children and to fill its place with Western ideas and practices. This foreign culture was presented as high culture par excellence, the acquisition of which constituted a blessing. Going to school was thus a radical act involving the sacrifice of one's indigenous self. I'm just going to end that there, because what's coming to mind is that Ireland was also colonized by the English. And I don't know, but I think that my deep, like core deep sense of belonging with Africa and with the plight of many African peoples, you can't compare one to the other. But I guess I had so much trauma and suffered so very, very much, particularly in 2017 and 2016. They were years of my awakening, but also for me to be able to sit here and talk the way that I am today, I've had to have the strength of a lion, and I know that I do, to be able to defy a system that wanted to basically medicate me and tell me that I had a mental illness. When actually what I discovered, and nobody asked me anything about this, nobody asked me anything about trauma. Nobody asked me what had happened in my youth. And so the reason why I stopped at that certain point in the book is because in Ireland, people too, indigenous people to that land, they had their language taken away. So the different schools in Ireland were paid money for the people not to speak Irish, but to speak English instead. And they had a lot of their gods and goddesses taken away from them. They had their drums taken away from them. They had food taken away from them. They had their land taken away from them. They had a genocide that happened upon them. And I started finding all of this out because I had a lot of trauma. And And as I began to understand, I really started to want to unpack what had happened to me. And then I started looking at how my mum's life was. My auntie, my uncles, and this is just on my mum's side. I speak a lot about my mother and not a lot about my father. And I think that's because my mum has passed. My mum passed when I was 20 years of age. She died of lung cancer after a 6-month battle with it. So I think because she's passed, it makes it easier for me to speak about my experiences with my mum. And I feel within my heart that it's okay for me to do that, because my mum would be so proud of me that I am on the journey that I am, because there was so much trauma in her bloodline. For instance, my auntie, she committed suicide a couple of years after my mum, and my mum's twin brother also attempted a suicide. And this is, the more research I do about Irish people and what happened to them as a people at the hands of the English, the more I understand how trauma travels and gets passed down. Intergenerational trauma is real in my case. And I feel very blessed that I was able to understand that there wasn't something wrong with me. There was something that was not balanced and harmonized in the system of which I was born out of. And so going deeper than that with regards to programming, let's just think of any child. Doesn't matter if you are from Africa or from England or from Russia or from anywhere, okay? Basically, a baby is born. And if you've been there when a baby is born, you will know the air changes, that like everything shifts, because this is a being of like pure unconditional love that just emanates out and changes everybody around them. I can imagine that might change pretty quickly once you have to change nappies, but just talking about that magical moment, we were all like that, all of us. We were all innocent and somewhat empty in terms of just this little soul coming through in a body. And then what happens? Like we get certain parents or a parent or whatever caregiver or whatever experience we get born into. And then we start to adopt the belief patterns that are around us. We start to watch what the adults are doing and we copy them. If you watch animals, the babies copy the mother because the mother is showing them how to live, she will show them what food they can eat, where they can go, where it's safe, where it's not. And all of this is depending on the experiences of the parents. So I know I've probably said this in another video, depending on what experience your parents have had in their life, and particularly their childhood, that's going to influence you greatly in yours, in what your experience of growing up in a family will be. And you grow up and you realize that there's this globe and there's all these different countries and different nationalities, and for instance you're told you're English or you're Dutch or you're American, whatever, and then it just goes on, and this person is black and this person is brown and you're white, and or this person's yellow, and it's like, if you really think about it, the names of the countries, they've been named by humans, right? But essentially, we are from the same land, right? What is the difference between Africa and England. Okay, you can say weather differences, climate, but the land used to be all connected as well. It's just that, you know, continents have been created now, right? We've kind of spread out. But we are all from the earth. And we all have the same emotions. We all want the same things. Most of us just want to be happy. We want to have peace. We feel happy when we feel connected to others. So how are we programmed? Well, I've already just mentioned that we are programmed by our parents, because these form programs when we copy something and we create an action, and then we do the action many times. That becomes a habit, be it good or bad. And then when it becomes habituated, we continue that in our lives. Other things that can program us are, you know, TV. I'm absolutely horrified that I used to watch EastEnders all the time, because I live in Amsterdam. And in the last few years, I've switched it on sometimes, and I immediately have to just turn it off, because it is so depressing. It's all doom and gloom. There's always drama. It's just like, oh my God, why would I want to watch that? But when I used to watch TV all the time, and I used to watch EastEnders all the time, it was normal. I was like, it was almost like I was programmed like that. And then when I think back to my behaviors back then, I also used to moan a lot and gossip a lot, and there was lots of drama in my life. So maybe I was just comfortable watching it, because it was just like a reflection of who I was. Maybe not initially when I started watching it, but certainly after a while, because, you know, they say your vibe attracts your tribe, you know, misery likes company. What I'm trying to say is, like, the way you are, what you believe, what you think, what you do, you're most likely to meet other people that will reflect that's when you become friends. And then that can have you thinking that you are normal. But the thing is, that doesn't mean that you're normal, because if you just changed up, you know, one thing, then your whole life could change, because you would start attracting different people, and then there wouldn't actually be a normal anymore. And there isn't a normal. That's the whole point. We think that there is. We think our childhood was normal. Trust me, when you start talking about it and you speak to enough people about childhood, there is no normal. And what I have found out is that most of us have had difficulties in our childhood, but it's difficult to admit. In my own therapy, it took me a long time to admit that there was things in my childhood that made me feel bad, sad, because I was holding my mother on a pedestal. Might have been because she had died, and since she died, we always laughed about her and spoke really great about her. It's kind of about honoring the dead, but I think a lot of people put their mum on the pedestal because she's your mother. She's the first one that you go to. She gave birth to you, and in most cases, in many sad cases, it's not the case, unfortunately. But in a lot of cases, your mother is your protector and your provider, just like the earth is for us on a larger scale. So that's why we can put our mothers on pedestals, and we have this guilt that's been drilled into us about speaking bad about family matters. But if you don't look at what's happened in your childhood, and you don't take an honest look at your parents and how they are and how they brought you up, then you are denying yourself the opportunity to break out of certain programming that you have received. If you're feeling unhappy in life, or maybe you think you're fine, you know, I did for a long time, until 2015, when it was just my time to wake up from the trauma that I was personally living in. But you know, materially, my life looked great. I look great. I had a great looking husband, fantastic looking marriage. After this amazing marriage and incredible wedding, a year later, I was like in the depths of despair and was just about to start therapy. So it ain't about how it looks. It really, really, really isn't. We all know how to look in this world to try to get by, fit in, look normal. But you know, we're deep. We're really, really deep. We are these massive hearts, and we are all innocent, and we've all been very vulnerable, and we're complicated. We've developed all of these ways to protect our innocence, to protect our vulnerability, and the system that we've all grown up in is so toxic. I think you begin to see that more and more when you start this healing journey. And it's not all doom and gloom in any way. I mean, it was kind of eye-opening along the way. But on the other side, it's really liberation. And of course, like, the journey never ends, right? Like, I'm at the moment having IFS sessions, internal family system sessions, with an incredible mentor. And I know that this journey of, like, just, wow, going deep into my experience as a human here will never end. And it's wonderful to have a mentor to do that. So it's not like I feel like we ever reach a destination and that we're healed. I don't mean that. But on the other side of, like, living in trauma, because I do believe there's another side, there's a side where you just start releasing all of the heaviness that you've been holding, often from your family of origin. And then on top of that, self-perpetuated traumas, because you're carrying it from your child and perhaps from your family. And then you're living in life with a lot of that. So of course you're going to attract more of what you've grown up in. So once you start realizing that the way that you're living isn't particularly yours, but something that you've learned from somebody else, it gets really liberating and amazing, because you start to be in a space where it's like, oh, well, who am I then? You know, what do I really like? And then that's incredible, because as you're on this journey, almost by magic, you will start to get memories back of your childhood. You will start to have memories of what you loved to do and who you hung out with, and it's amazing. And you will start to have energy, because as you're speaking about stuff, it's like all this inner furniture starts getting arranged. And like when you do that in your, like, you used to do it in your bedroom, maybe when you were younger, I was always rearranging my room. It would almost feel like there was new energy flowing. And that's what happens inside. It's like when you talk about stuff, things moves, and there's more energy to move around and flow through you and out of you. So you have more energy to not just find a hobby, because you feel like you need a hobby in this world, because everyone's like, ooh, what are your hobbies? And you want to be interesting to talk about at work. Not that kind of hobby. I've done that, trust me, never could find one. But I mean, just having the energy to just do things from your youth, and you're just so in the moment with it, because you're awakening a part of yourself that used to have desire, natural desire and curiosity to do things, and you're reconnecting with that part of you and kind of living it in the now. And it's a beautiful journey. It really is a beautiful journey. And then you can kind of program yourself all anew, but in a very healthy way, and start to live a life which is true and beautiful and freeing, where your heart feels full, and where you're just working on your shit, honestly, you know, because we've all got it. But it's like, are you working on it, or are you making excuses, or feeling ashamed of it, or hiding it, you know? So programming. What does this, gosh, I am really watching my ums, by the way. I am going to watch it more and more. Sorry about that. But programming, maybe you can think about how you've been programmed. Think about who brought you up. Think about the kind of beliefs that they had, how you watched them live, and how you're living. How is that similar? Maybe you completely rebelled, but then that would be the other end of the scale, right? So it's like, as ever, finding yourself, finding your balance. If this speaks to you, I'm very happy to jump on a call with you and have a chat, a free consultation. You can speak to me and ask questions about how I work, and we can see if we vibe with each other in terms of working together further. You can click on the link in the description at the bottom of this video. Okay, now I think we will do a grounding meditation. I have been speaking very excitedly and a bit quickly, so let's come down to the ground. I invite you to find somewhere comfortable to sit or lie down. I'm going to take my shoes off and put my feet flat on the floor. Feels really nice sometimes just digging your toes a little bit into the floor and feeling your bare feet on the ground. I invite you to close your eyes. Taking some nice deep breaths in right into the bottom of your belly and all the way out. Feeling your tummy button go towards your spine as you breathe everything out. And then another great big breath into your belly again and out. Keeping your eyes closed as you now focus on your inner world as opposed to the outer world. And just focus on what you can feel underneath you. Feel your bum on the chair or the sofa or the bed, backs of your legs. Feel the material, whatever that is, underneath your feet. See if you can just give more of your body, more of your weight to what you're sitting on. See if you can relax your shoulders a bit more. We always hunch up to protect, defend. I noticed I was doing that a lot on my bike a few years ago. And I was like, oh, this feels so much better. Just get so used to postures of contraction. So just notice that, let it go. See if you can drop your jaw a little bit more. Scan around your face, see if you can relax your eyes, your forehead. And just focusing again, just taking some nice, easy breaths in and out. Landing in your body. Just follow my voice. Just focusing on your fingertips, rub your fingertips against your thumbs. This is just a nice way to come in contact with your body. If you're up in your head a lot, you forget you've got a body. So just coming into the body now, wiggling the toes, rubbing fingertips on thumbs, bringing all of your energy back from wherever it's been today, bringing all your attention back into your body in this moment. I just want you to focus on just think back to when you were born as an innocent beautiful, shiny, gorgeous baby. What happened to your innocence, your inner beauty, and your purity? Don't you feel them still there in your heart? Maybe that's why sometimes you're bitchy, defensive, short, cold, standoffish. Maybe you're not a bad person. Maybe you're a very, 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 very good person. And you're just trying to protect that because maybe that wasn't always seen and maybe you always didn't feel safe. You know that you're good-hearted and incredibly amazing and innocent and pure. You know that. It doesn't disappear just because you get taller or fatter or older. How can it? It's there. It's just underneath all the ways you have tried to defend it and protect it. Just want you to feel it there within you now. That innocence, that love, that purity. Know that the one that you were as a child is still there now, underneath your years, or our mascara, our makeup, our defences. And as you just get in touch with that purity and your own innocence again, I want you to feel the safety that you have right now in this moment. Feel into the truth that right now you are safe. Right in this moment, you are supported underneath you by the earth, which has supported you every single day of your life. It's given you everything that you've needed and wanted. So you're breathing right now in your body and you're with yourself in this moment. Know that you will always be all right. Know this is true. And as you go along your journey further and you learn more tools and practices for regulating your nervous system, for understanding any anxiety and feelings of overwhelm, for understanding them and knowing the why, you will be able to truly come home to yourself and you will connect to a strength within you that once you have stepped into, you will never, ever, ever step out of it ever again. And it will guide you through the rest of your life. No matter what happens on the outside, you will always be okay once you're truly connected back to yourself. And once you reflect on why. As children, we always ask why. And as adults, we stopped. I invite you to start asking why again. Because why is everything. Once we know why and we have understanding, the script flips. Trust in your process. Trust in your journey. Trust in the strength deep within you to guide you through, as it always has, and it always will. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of the evening, and a really, really amazing week next week. I'm not going to be holding a Sunday sanctuary because it'll be Christmas Eve, I think, yeah. But I wish you a really lovely week, whatever you believe in, whatever you're doing. I hope you get a holiday, and I just send you so much love. And if I have a wish for all of you, it's that you can just tap into that deep, never-ending well of love that is within. And Merry Christmas to who believes in Christmas, and I love you to those that don't.